I like to start off wearing that second hat, the older brother hat. Everyone is being given an envelope, and again, I'd like you just not open it. Does everyone have one now, Kim? So later on, you'll see a slideshow coming up on this screen here, and it's a great slideshow they prepared. However, I think they may be missing a few critical pictures from Jonathan's childhood. So let us all imagine for a second you are my mother. You've raised Jonathan from an infant, driven him to school, helped with his homework, had dinner waiting for him when he got home, and after 12 long years of schooling, your youngest son has finished high school. You go to open his graduation photo, one that will be printed in the paper, the yearbooks for years to come, and the picture she sends around to all her friends and family to put on their refrigerators. So let's all open our envelopes to see what she opened that day. Jonathan was pretty heavy into Nirvana, but anyways, he had his hair cut and had to sign up for a reshoot, but I was able to dig up that little gem, so please put this photo where it truly belongs, on all of your refrigerators. Jonathan, as you take this big step, I feel like I should be giving you advice, but not being married myself, I know nothing of it. However, this isn't really a new thing, as I've been advising you on stuff I never knew for many years. I think it all started back when we were really young, and I convinced you that if you stuck a small rock in one ear and really jammed it in there, it may just come out the other side. I have to admit, I was kind of curious myself, but on the way to the hospital, I realized this guy really looks up to me. So much so that he would blindly jam a rock well into his ear cavity. Again, trying to give some coaching a few years later, now just a half a mile down the road to the farm, Jonathan and I were throwing hay down in an opening in the mow to the cattle below. He wasn't able to push the hay through, so I showed him how to really put his body into it, to force it through. His very next trip, Jonathan put his body into it all right and went head first through the opening. The last thing I saw was his kicking boots as he went through the floor. I looked down and Jonathan peered at me with these wide eyes, which then shifted to the 24 cows that met his eyes, who were wondering what this concussed boy was doing laying on top of their food. Again, on the way to the hospital, I decided that maybe a better approach would be to stop showing this kid things and just look out for him when he screws up. Even though sometimes I haven't had the best advice to offer, through the thick and the thin, I've always tried to look out for you. But I'll admit, for entertainment purposes, sometimes I opted not to. This next story is set in California at the Coachella Music Festival. Kim and I had driven down and set up our campsite at the festival, and then went to pick Jonathan up at the airport. Jonathan woke up in the morning in the tent, dehydrated from the heat, and eagerly made his way outside. He reached for a bottle of water and started to guzzle it back. All of a sudden, his eyes widened and his cheeks filled. To give the rest of the backstory, Kim and I, in order to sneak alcohol into the campground, had emptied a case of water bottles and filled them up with cheap rum. I saw this whole event unfolding, watched him get out of the tent, reach for the bottle and put back half of it of the warm alcohol before his sleepy eyes widened. His cheeks filled, and he spit it all over his backpack containing his clothes for the week. My last story is set about 100 kilometers north of the concert, as we were driving up the coast of California. To preface this story, my mom let us borrow her American cell phone to check in, and text messaging had just really started, so we were trying it out to save money. Jonathan and Katherine had only been dating for about 4 months at this point, and Jonathan had been a great boyfriend and had been checking in with Katherine daily. I was sitting in the front seat and I saw the phone vibrate. It was a message from Katherine to Jonathan, asking how things were. Did I kindly pass the phone to my snoozing brother in the back, letting him know his sweetie was checking in? Of course not. I did what any terrible older brother would do. I pretended to be him and embarrassed the crap out of him. So I sent a couple goofy messages, told her I had to run, but then without thinking, I typed in 8 characters to what I thought would really stir things up into the phone that soon appeared on Katherine's screen 500 kilometers here in Canada. LOVE space YOU. Soon after, the phone buzzed, indicating a message was received. It was from Katherine, and it read, "I love you too." I was ready to jump out of the car and tuck and roll. Instead, I woke up Jonathan, his eyes widening, even wider than the shock from the warm rum the day before, as he read his confessed love, and I told Kim we should probably pull over and let them talk. The truth is, they knew they loved each other even after 4 months of dating. I guess I was just the catalyst to the reaction, and who knows if they would have gotten engaged this quickly if the tempo of their relationship hadn't been set at the pace that day. For those who have spent any time with these two, I think we can agree we knew this day was coming. She was among a small majority of the world's population that gets his jokes. They are calm and collected together and are always considering each other in every decision. After the first time Jonathan brought Katherine home for dinner, we each individually pulled him aside, grabbed him by the collar, and warned him not to mess this up. And he didn't. So, can you please raise your glasses for a toast? May your love be modern enough to survive the times, but old-fashioned enough to last forever. Hear, hear.
I think there's a kiss horizon. Now can we have the mother and father of the bride?